Let's take a look at our past presidents and see how many of these facts you may have not known. John Quincy Adams regularly skinny dipped in the Potomac. George Washington. Whiskey was one of Washington's most important business ventures at Mount Vernon. At peak production in 1799, the distillery used 5 stills and a boiler and produced 11,000 gallons of whiskey, with sales at $7,500 that year. It was perhaps the country's largest distillery. Washington's plantation manager, James Anderson, a Scottish man with distilling experience, urged him to start the venture, which was also an efficient way to use unsold ground wheat, corn, and rye. James Madison. Although there was a ball in 1789 to honor the election of George Washington, the first official inaugural ball did not occur until 1809, when Madison took office. Madison was sworn in at the U.S. Capitol. That evening his wife, Dolly Madison, hosted a gala at Long's Hotel. The price of admission was $4 per ticket. 400 tickets were sold, and so began a Washington tradition. Today, the Presidential Inaugural Committee plans all the official inaugural balls. Gerald Ford. Ford's first love was a woman named Phyllis Brown, a gorgeous blonde who became a fashion model. Brown persuaded Ford to invest in a modeling agency and do some modeling himself. Together they appeared in ski resort spreads of Look magazine 1940 and on the cover of Cosmopolitan in 1942. Ultimately, the pair broke up. She wanted to continue modeling in New York, and he decided to forego the runway and begin his law career. Warren Harding. Harding wore a size 14. Unfortunately, those big feet did not ensure that his administration would be on firm footing. It turned out that Harding's trusted advisors were not so trustworthy, and his presidency was riddled with scandal. He died before his term was completed, and his wife burned the potentially incriminating correspondences. However, his stately slippers and sporty golf shoes survive at the Smithsonian. 4 presidents have received the Nobel Peace Prize, including Theodore Roosevelt, Woodrow Wilson, Jimmy Carter, and Barack Obama. Roosevelt received his in 1906 for his many efforts toward international peace, including his role in formulating the 1905 peace treaty between Russia and Japan. Wilson was awarded the Nobel in 1919 for founding the League of Nations after World War I. Carter was long retired from his presidency when he won the prize in 2002 for his efforts in advanced human rights and advanced peaceful solutions to international conflicts. Obama was honored with the Nobel in 2009 for his work towards strengthening international diplomacy and cooperation. William Howard Taft, a graduate of Yale and Cincinnati Law School. Taft loved law but was unsure about politics. At the urging of his wife, Nellie, and mentor Theodore Roosevelt, he reluctantly accepted his party's nomination for presidency, calling the presidential campaign one of the most uncomfortable 4 months of my life. After losing the 1912 election to Woodrow Wilson, Taft served as professor of law at Yale and was later appointed by Warren Harding as Chief Justice of the United States, a pose he considered his great honor. Theodore Roosevelt. Roosevelt wore a ring with a lock of Lincoln's hair in it on March 14, 1905, at his second inauguration. Roosevelt had been a longtime admirer of Lincoln, and as a child had watched Lincoln's funeral procession pass by his house in New York. Roosevelt's admiration for Lincoln was reinforced later when he met John Hay, who had worked for Lincoln in the White House. Hay and Roosevelt talked about Lincoln often, and Hay gave Roosevelt the ring, knowing that Roosevelt would treasure it. Franklin D. Roosevelt. FDR named Francis Perkins as Secretary of Labor in 1933. The Mount Holyoke College graduate was a trained social worker who had worked in settlement houses in Chicago and Philadelphia. Her efforts on behalf of labor reform took an added urgency after the tragic Triangle Shirtwaist Factory fire in 1911. She served as Industrial Commissioner under Roosevelt when he was governor of New York. As Labor Secretary, Perkins established the Labor Standard Bureau and was a principal architect of the Social Security Act. John Tyler. Tyler was married twice. He had 8 children with his wife Letitia. After she died, the 54-year-old president married the 24-year-old Julia Gardner, with whom he had 7 more children. Tyler wins the prize for being the most prolific of all American presidents. Abraham Lincoln. Lincoln's wife, Mary Lincoln, became interested in seances after their young son Willie died in 1862. At the White House, she engaged mediums who conducted spirit circles or ceremonies during which those who attended could communicate with their loved ones who had crossed over into the next world. Mary was eager to believe in the mediums as it made her loss somewhat bearable, and she encouraged the president to attend a few seances, which he did. It is not clear if Lincoln participated to appease his wife or out of real interest and belief.